Good afternoon. Well, a series of developments from the National Union of Metal Workers. It's announcing today it will officially open its nomination process for the upcoming elective conference this month. It's the union's first elective conference in nearly 6 years. They'll elect new leadership and make policy decisions.
We will open nominations from today to the 22nd. It's a new process. So those who have been peddling lies, they must know now that the union members are afforded an opportunity to elect the leadership they want to continue to take the organization forward. Nominations will not be handled by this leadership. Nomination will be handled by ISA, which is an external body which will communicate with regions, and then democratically, in a worker-controlled lifestyle of NUMSA, workers will decide whom do they want to continue to take the organization.
Also confirmation today from that trade union that it suspended its second deputy president, Ruth Ntlokotse, saying she's been involved in divisive conduct. The union suggesting she's undermined its leadership. That comes ahead of the conference. The spokesperson for the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa is Phakamile Hlubi Majola. She joins us now. Phakamile, good afternoon to you. Why has Ruth Ntlokotse been suspended?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and good afternoon to your viewers. Thank you so much for having me on your show. The NUMSA actually held a special Central Committee meeting that took place over the last 2 days at Birchwood, and delegates who are represented from all NUMSA 9 regions met and debated issues. They debated issues around the state of readiness ahead of Congress. They also debated issues around what happened, for example, at the SAFTU Congress. They debated the issues around provinces. There were certain provinces that had failed to launch their congresses in time. And also one of the issues that was debated was the conduct of the second deputy president, Comrade Ruth Ntlokotse. The delegates at the meeting, at the special, at the SCC, felt that the conduct of the second deputy president, Comrade Ruth Ntlokotse, showed that she, on various occasions, had undermined the organization and its unity, and that the second deputy president had defined herself outside of the leadership collective of the national leadership of NUMSA. And as a result, a decision was taken at this meeting for her to be placed on suspension pending an investigation into her conduct.
Is there any suggestion she was working with people outside the union? Or was her divisive conduct related only to people inside the union?
I think I don't want to go into too much information or details in relation to what the allegations are, except to say that the resolutions of the Special Central Committee was that they felt that an investigation must be conducted, certainly with respect to how at certain times it has appeared that she has taken decisions that are against the union itself, against the collective of the union. And for that reason, they felt it was important that an investigation must be done, and in the meantime, she should be placed on suspension.
Can I ask at this stage, and I realize this may still be in the works, who conducts the investigation? I mean, lots of organizations have these problems. It's a very difficult thing to actually manage. Is there an independent body? Is there someone in the union who will do it?
So what usually happens is that when such a process occurs, we would call upon an independent person to actually facilitate the hearings and the disciplinary process. Obviously, the union will do its own investigation and place before this person whatever evidence it wants to place in relation to, the allegations that it is making, and that person will be afforded an opportunity to defend him or herself in that setting.
Phakamile, if we can change the subject a little bit, obviously your press conference takes place and your meeting's been taking place during the most intense load shedding that I think we've had since load shedding really began in 2008. You represent a large number of workers at Eskom. What do you believe is actually happening at Eskom? I mean, Eskom at one point blamed an illegal strike. I understand that was not a strike that you arranged or that you were leading, but still workers have been blamed. What's your sense of what's happening at Eskom at the moment?
Well, I think, members of the public are able to put two and two together. We said from the beginning, when the minister wrongly blamed workers for load shedding, that that was not true, and evidence would be borne out to show that, and indeed it has. Because workers have been back at work since we settled the dispute with Eskom last week, and yet we are still exposed to persistent load shedding. And what we've said as a trade union is that the load shedding actually assists to promote this narrative in the media that Eskom must be privatized, that we should basically allow Eskom to collapse and allow the private sector to take over providing energy generation for the country. Now, as a trade union, we've always said that that would be a fatal mistake for us as a country. This is not France or Germany. We are not a rich country. We're a country of more than 40% unemployment with the highest levels of inequality in the world. Once you hand over electricity generation to the private sector, you're effectively locking out masses and masses and masses of poor and working class people from accessing electricity. But it's very clear to us that the ANC's agenda right now is to really collapse all our state-owned entities for the benefit of capitalists who sit in some of these private companies who are going to benefit as privatization is rolled out. We've already seen this at SAA. If you recall, Stephen, we warned when Tito Mboweni made that announcement when he was still finance minister, when he said he was going to sell SAA for R1 to his friends. Well, didn't he do it? They sold SAA to the Takato Consortium, which is connected to high-ranking levels of the ANC leadership, and they sold it for R51. So we can expect more of these decisions to happen under this ANC leadership that has fully demonstrated that it's not interested in empowering the majority of people, in ensuring that the majority of people have access to affordable electricity. Okay. They are selling out, and they've sold all our assets to private capital.
NUMSA has made this point consistently around Eskom, that the idea is to privatize it, but I'm not aware of any single person in the ANC who said publicly that that's what they want to do. And I'll suggest that SAA, and I mean I accept what you say, but I'll suggest that SAA is a slightly different example, because in the end it was poor people who were funding government, who was then funding an airline that was being used only exclusively by the rich and middle class, really the rich. When it comes to Eskom, I think the most important thing that we need to do with power at the moment is keep the rich in the same network as the poor, so that the rich can subsidize the poor. Otherwise, as a country, I think we're possibly lost. That's it. We're done. But, I mean, even Thulas Nxesi went so far as last week as to say to Bloomberg that he completely opposes any idea of privatizing Eskom. I'm not aware of anyone in the ANC who wants to privatize Eskom. What they want to do is have a little bit more private power generation. So when you say people want to wholesale privatize Eskom, I suppose the question would be, what evidence do you have of that?
What we said was they want to privatize energy generation. Remember, the role of Eskom has been to provide electricity and to generate electricity for the whole country. And indeed, they are privatizing because they are closing down coal-powered fire stations and replacing them with renewable energy independent power producers, which are privately owned. So yes, they are privatizing energy generation in South Africa. Secondly, have you tried to buy an air ticket lately, Stephen, for you to claim that it certainly is something that only the rich can do. Ever since SAA collapsed, and we warned that this would happen, suddenly it is absolutely impossible to afford an airfare ticket now. And part of the role of SAA, it was not simply some expensive SOE for the benefit of the rich. The purpose of SAA was to actually support the aviation sector by keeping prices affordable so that people can access aviation, number one. Number two, SAA on its own created more than 40,000 jobs along the value chain. There is not a single private company that can achieve what SAA did when it was at its heyday. And this is the point of SOEs. Their agenda is much more than just profiteering. The purpose of a state-owned entity is to grow a sector, to grow the value chain in that sector, to develop businesses that are going to exist and benefit from that sector. And we have seen how the destruction of SAA has had a huge impact on aviation. Ticket prices are completely out of control now because now the private sector is benefiting from monopolizing that sector, and there's no SAA to sort of balance things out. And what you're seeing at SAA, we can definitely expect at Eskom and in relation to energy generation. They're creating a two-tier system where those who can afford electricity will be able to do so from private players, and those who can't will be stuck with a collapsing Eskom. Just like in our hospitals, if you can afford medical aid, you'll be able to access quality healthcare, but if you're poor, unfortunately you'll be stuck with a bara that is collapsing. That is the scenario that this ANC government is delivering to the people of South Africa.
Phakamile Hlubi Majola, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much. I do appreciate the time. Spokesperson for NUMSA.